Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. Joining me today, we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
You have the wrong person. My name is Ben.
All right. I was expecting a hello there, but
You see,
that
that's
works
the
as
thing.
well.
Everybody would have gone with a hello there, like in that moment. But he doesn't say hello there in this
In
show.
this one, yeah, no, not
When
yet.
somebody confronts him, he says, "I don't know who you're. You have the wrong person. My name is Ben."
Yeah, fair enough.
Very.
As Cameron is alluding to, today we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, part 1 and part 2 of this 6-part miniseries. Why did we pick it? Because it's the 45th anniversary of Star Wars and Star Wars Celebration, and that's pretty cool. So, yeah, shout out to Obi-Wan Kenobi getting a series at long last. A little bit of housekeeping before we dive in. Upcoming episodes don't have a full slate, so I don't know what we're going to be doing next week. I'll try and figure that out here in the next day or two. But then 2 weeks from now, we will be doing the first episode of Miss Marvel,
Mhm.
the new MCU series. Then I got a TBD slot, and then at the end of the month, June 24th, we will do our wrap-up of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, because apart from this first 2 episodes going out on Friday, every other episode is going to be going out on Wednesday, so we can kind of bump back to our normal Friday schedule moving forward. But thank you for your patience with these last couple episodes as we've done our little Sunday detour. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So diving into the history lesson, originally released, obviously, here, May 27th, 2022, continuing on through June 22nd, 2022. It was originally slated for May 25th, the anniversary of A New Hope in theaters, the 45th anniversary, and then it ultimately got pushed to the Friday to better coincide with / line up with Star Wars Celebration that's been going on the last couple days. Runtime of what was it, about 50 minutes an episode, 40-50 minutes an episode. I forgot to actually go in and fill that in. I remember seeing the first one being 55 minutes. I was like, ooh, this is a nice beefy boy. So yeah. Put that in there somewhere.
I have no idea how long any episode was because I was just enthralled.
There you go. Fair enough.
So,
in the Star Wars timeline of things, not necessarily the live action, we had Star Wars Visions came out last September. We had the Book of Boba Fett came out in December through February. We have the Obi-Wan Kenobi series here, May through June. Up next, with a fresh new trailer, we have the Andor series that's going to be kicking off end of August, I believe. Also just announced today, as we are recording this, formally announced. It'd been teased for a little while, I think. Tales of the Jedi is a new animated series coming out, anthology series focusing on prequel era Jedi like Ahsoka, like Mace Windu, like Count Dooku. Like a young Count Dooku, pre-Sith Count Dooku, I believe. And that's going to be coming out in the fall of 2022. Bad Batch, I think, is still slated for 2022 for Season 2. They've also confirmed that Mandalorian Season 3 and Ahsoka will be hitting 2023. So lots more Star Wars still to come. Yay for that. It's a good time to be a Star Wars nerd. Diving into the roll call, our director here of this series is Deborah Chow. She has done a lot of TV work, including episodes of Mr. Robot, Iron Fist, Fear the Walking Dead, Jessica Jones, Better Call Saul, The Mandalorian. And she also, her most recent IMDb credit prior to Obi-Wan Kenobi was the Black Summer Red Hot Chili Peppers music video, which I saw that after watching these episodes and was like, oh, that makes more sense why Flea is in this series. The writers of these pair of episodes are Joby Harold, Hussein Amini, and Stuart Beattie. Joby Harold worked on the teleplay, having worked previously on films like Awake, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and most recently last year's Army of the Dead. He's also the upcoming screenwriter for Transformers Rise of the Beasts and the Flash movie. We'll see if that Flash movie ever actually comes out, given the recent issues that the star has been encountering. Hussein Amini previously wrote the scripts for Drive, Snow White and the Huntsman, and 47 Ronin, among other things. And Stuart Beattie, most notably probably, was one of the screenwriters for Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. So
like the OG?
The OG Curse of the Black Pearl. Wow. And then is basically like, because he helped work on the characters, is basically credited on every other Pirates movie as well. He also wrote the screenplay for Australia, the Baz Luhrmann film, and G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra. So, mixed bag of things, I would say. Starring, of course, we have Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi, having previously worked on films like Trainspotting. He's been Obi-Wan Kenobi in the live-action verse since The Phantom Menace. He would also go on to do films like Moulin Rouge, Big Fish, The Island, August Osage County, Beauty and the Beast, the TV series Fargo, Christopher Robin, Dr. Sleep, and Birds of Prey, a.k.a. and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, where he played Roman Sionis in a very fun scene-stealing turn.
Oh my gosh, he was so great in it.
Hayden Christensen only glimpsed in these pair of episodes, but of course he is notoriously back as Darth Vader here, having played Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, as well as having been in films like Life is a House, Shattered Glass, and Jumper. Rupert Friend plays the role of the Grand Inquisitor here, which was, I believe, originally, we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we did the Rebels episode. I believe it was Jason Isaacs who originally voiced him in Star Wars Rebels. So Rupert Friend taking that over, having previously been in Homeland. He was Agent 47 in the second Hitman movie, aka Hitman Agent 47, versus Timothy Olyphant, who played Agent 47 in the first one. He's also in the films A Simple Favor and The French Dispatch. Moses Ingram here playing Inquisitor Riva / the Third Sister. She was in The Queen's Gambit, as well as The Tragedy of Macbeth recently. Sun Kang playing Fifth Brother, obviously best known to audiences as Han Solo in Fast and Furious, going back to Tokyo Drift. Joel Edgerton reprises his role as Owen Lars, having played Owen in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. He was also in the film Kinky Boots, Great Gatsby, and most recently The Green Knight. Jimmy Smits is also back here as Bail Organa. That was a fun little surprise. Of course, known for TV shows like NYPD Blue and The West Wing, as well as Dexter. He was Bail Organa starting in Attack of the Clones and has reprised his role as the character multiple times, both in live action and in animated form. And he was also in last year's In the Heights film. Simone Kessel as Brea Organa, aka Queen Organa. She's most recently in a couple episodes of Our Flag Means Death. Vivian Lyra Blair playing a young Princess Leia here. She was also in the video game Telling Lies. I didn't pull his name in here because he hasn't done a ton in here. If he does, I'll be sure to include him in the later one. But there is also a young Luke. Obviously, we've seen him in some footage. Other little smaller little cameo fun things. Bonnie Peace is also in here as Beru Lars, having previously portrayed Beru in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Benny Safdie is our Jedi in hiding in the first episode, Nari, He's probably best known to people as one of the directors of Uncut Gems a couple years back, part of the Safdie brothers duo.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. Kumail Nanjiani in here in episode 2 as Haja, of course, also known as a renowned comedian, also from The Big Sick and Eternals. Flea in here as bounty hunter Vect Nehru, of course, Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist for many, many years, and also shout out to him being in Back to the Future 2 and 3. And also, it's very tainted now, but I really enjoyed Baby Driver at the time it came out, and he has a small little cameo in that as well.
Flea is one of my favorite human beings on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
One, I'm a fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like if you hate them, I don't care. They rock. I love them. They're great. And Flea, Red Hot Chili Peppers is known for doing some outrageous stuff, and Flea is just like an absolute wild mad human being on stage. And then like from documentaries, interviews, and stuff, he's like an incredible, thoughtful, almost like demure person behind off stage. And he is just able to turn on that kind of like, I'm a nasty man, like vibe, like instantaneously, and it's great. Yep. Love.
We have a fun little cameo of Tamora Morrison as one of the veteran clone troopers, of course, having been playing Jango / Boba Fett and various clone troopers since Attack of the Clones. And Anthony Daniels as a brief cameo as C-3PO in here in these first couple episodes. There are a few other like notable names that are credited, but they haven't like popped up in the series yet. So I was like, I don't need to shout out O'Shea Jackson Jr. and the fact that he's in Straight Outta Compton until we end up seeing him in the show. So when that happens, when we do the recap in a month, I'll give him a nod as well. But in the trivia, as we often do here in Star Wars land, this takes place in the galactic timeline in 9 BBY, notably 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, which occurred in 19 BBY. Other notable events in 9 BBY, not a ton explored in this year yet. There's like a couple comics things, but the construction of the Death Star moved from Geonosis to Scarif in 10/9 BBY, so that's kind of probably happening around this time. And I threw this in here because according to a recent press release, the upcoming Star Wars Jedi Survivor game, aka the follow-up to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, is set to take place 5 years after Jedi Fallen Order, which itself took place in 14 BBY, which means that the next Jedi movie or Jedi game is theoretically also going to be taking place here in 9 BBY. And also the timing of this all occurring in 9 BBY lends credence to my long-running theory that this was originally planned as like a movie that would have been like a follow-up to Solo, MCU-ified, because Solo took place in 10 BBY. So there you go. Other fun little trivia facts. The Grand Inquisitor and Fifth Brother have previously been established in Rebels, while the third sister character is new to this series. We see Obi-Wan dropping off a toy ship that he buys from the Jawa. That is the T-16 Skyhopper model that Luke is seen playing with at the beginning of Episode 4, A New Hope. Leia uses a decoy to fool her mother, just like Padme had done using decoys for protection in Episodes 1 and 2. Leia name drops elements from early drafts of A New Hope, as well as early Star Wars comics. Specifically, she talks about an Aquilian Ranger scouting for Merson pirates. Aquilian Ranger was in the an early draft of A New Hope as a Deke Starkiller, Luke Starkiller's original brother, was an Aquilian Ranger. Merson pirates are first mentioned in, I think, like a Star Wars 1977 era comic. Additionally, Brea Organa name drops a Glorak, which was introduced in the Star Wars tabletop role-playing game. Additionally, the planet Mapuzo that Kumail's character has sent Obi-Wan and Leia off to is also originated from the tabletop RPG. And then lastly, the clone trooper that we see, the clone trooper veteran, appears to have the markings indicating them as a member of the 501st Legion, which was Anakin's battalion. So highly likely he had some glimmer of recognition of Obi-Wan Kenobi in there, because Obi-Wan, admittedly, not really too incognito, trying to be a Jedi in hiding.
I totally thought he was going to go Order 66, like snap on him. But like be unable to like get actually to him. People are just like, oh, crazy clone.
It'd be interesting. Yeah,
I thought that would have happened.
Definitely. I imagine the behavioral chips have degraded over the
sure.
preceding 10 years. Plus, also he's clearly down in his luck, so maybe Order 66. He's not really interested in following Order 66. That for an emperor that no longer cares about him. So what did we think here of the first couple episodes? Cameron, what are your thoughts?
I mean, Trevor, it's so obvious. Like I love it. It's like it's in my face. I can just feel it. Like I'm just flushed with joy and excitement. Like I loved it. I watched it last night. I watched both episodes back to back, and I just had an absolute blast with them. I just think that this is just so fantastic. I loved every moment of it. I don't like, and it's like, it's funny because there hasn't been a lot in the last few years to get me like stoked as a Star Wars fan. When we did Summer of Star Wars last year and coincided with Star Wars Visions, I thought, this will probably be one of the last times that I get really stoked up for Star Wars. And I was expecting to enjoy the show. I just didn't expect it to like hype me up for this era of the galaxy. The idea, like normally I always thought this was a cool time for the storytelling in Star Wars, but like my hesitation when it comes to Jedi Fallen Order, like my issues with like just kind of like this like there's a lot that I had feelings about when they announced that game, and like that's neither here nor there. I do not want to get into that. What I do want to focus on though is I love the idea that they're exploring this. I love the idea that we have like Obi-Wan isn't, well, let me rephrase it. Ben Kenobi isn't Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is not the general, like this isn't like a general of the Republic. He is not a Jedi master. This is a like butchery line worker who cuts a little bit off the top for meat for his
Eope.
Mount, his Eope.
Eope, yeah.
Yeah, his Eope. And overall just has this idea and overall has just this like, and the idea to have him be like this, like they point out the best thing they did was like at the start, the Grand Inquisitor coming through, and he basically is like, we don't actually hunt Jedi hunt themselves because they cannot stop themselves from fighting injustice where they see it, and he has this entire like dialogue with the saloon owner, and he like totally takes it apart, the saloon owner's entire like, this is what happened, he like, you were getting pushed around, like you're new, you were getting pushed around, he came in, he saved you, and you offer him shelter now, and he's become attached to you. And it's just this incredible moment where he's like sussing out who the Jedi is that's among them. And you immediately understand the dynamic of the three Inquisitors there. Even if you've never seen Star Wars Rebels, you immediately get that this is a methodical person who takes pleasure in stoking anxiety and fear in people. You have Brother Five, who is like stoic, loyal, and like follows through with like what the intentions are of the Grand Inquisitor. And then you have Sister Three, who from the get-go you see as impertinent, as disruptive, as clearly has this idea that what she's doing is far less important than what she thinks she should be doing. To the extent that she constantly interrupts the Grand Inquisitor during his soliloquy and is constantly like stepping on the toes of the Grand Inquisitor while he's looking for it. And then her impatience. She's so impatient because she throws the knife and reveals the Jedi. And it's like she doesn't see that what the Grand Inquisitor is doing is to send a message in a way that is subtle and it will hopefully prevent people from helping Jedi in the future by basically stoking anxiety and fear. Like, I'm not gonna like hide a Jedi.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not gonna hide a Jedi because like I don't like I know what I know that they are incapable of hiding.
Yeah.
Like, he's stoking the propaganda and the paranoia, and Sister 3 immediately undermines that. And she just does not get it. And that's something I actually really like about her character, is that she lacks subtlety in everything she does.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think her method of just going straight in and chopping that lady's hand off in a later scene is like, oh, that's probably a little bit more effective than like, tense fear from a monologue kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, no, I don't want my hands chopped off. I like my hands. I like being able to do things. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and keep my mouth shut.
But here, like, the thing about that is that brutality also breeds what's the word?
Discontent and uprising.
Discontent. Yeah,
it breeds rebellion. Yeah,
it breeds rebellion. That kind of brutality breeds rebellion. And the Grand Inquisitor's method, is like, hey, you guys, we all just want to live in our galaxy peacefully, but we have these Jedi who are enemies to the Empire, and they need to be brought in. Because that's one of the things I like, is that the Inquisitors don't say, hey, we want to just kill the Jedi, tell us where the Jedi is. It's almost like hey, we just want to talk to them about some stuff. It's very good. I very much enjoy it. Like, the Grand Inquisitor, one of my favorite things in the Rebel cartoon is when he uses the dead Jedi Master's corpse in a prison cell to attract to make other Jedi think that she's being trapped there and to try and rescue.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's brilliant in such a great, subtle way. Because the brutality would say, tell the galaxy we have murdered this Jedi Master. She was no mite compared to the power of the Empire and the Emperor. And instead it's like, no, because you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And that's what he's trying to do. And it's just, Brother 5 gets it, but Sister 3 just doesn't. She just cannot see it. And her ambition is so much bigger. Like, her eyes for her ambition are much bigger than her stomach and her capability to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Like, here's the thing. This could be easily, somebody could be hearing me say this and say, oh, I guess Cameron doesn't like her character. No, I love that. That's such a massive flaw in her character that will drive her and compel her to make decisions that are otherwise just not they are quote unquote smart in a conniving behind other people's back way. Because she's successful in what she tries to do.
Yeah, I mean, she sets out a plan to kidnap Leia on this background information she has that Obi-Wan and Bail Organa worked together in the Clone Wars. Kidnaps Leia, and it does exactly what she wanted it to do. Draws Obi-Wan out of hiding.
Yeah, and it's perfect, because at first you're like, wait, she kidnapped Leia like that, and it's like, nope, Leia's just a tool. Leia's just a pawn meant to get Obi-Wan out of hiding. That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't. She hasn't pieced together some mythical thing of realizing Leia is actually Anakin's daughter.
Nope.
She doesn't know that. It's just, this is how I can get to Obi-Wan because I can get to Bail Organa, and I can and we'll see how that plays out.
Anyway. So I love the atmosphere of the oppression of the Empire at this time. I love that they're on a planet where it's just no signals go in or out. People here like their privacy. And that immediately made me think of that one capitalist planet in Mass Effect, where they're like a neutral planet, but it's like it has contracts, and like you can basically become a slave
Oh yeah, Ilium.
with the Ilium. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Ilium. It's like, well, people favor their privacy, like people like this is, but it like a darker, seedier version of that in a way. And I just loved it. I just felt so great about everything. I like that we saw a different side of Tatooine than we've seen before. I like that we like, because we saw Tatooine from like the regular person's point of view, like not as like a bounty hunter in like the Mos Eisley cantinas or anything like that. It was, yeah, this is just like a shop, like a cafe shop, and these are just like regular people. Or it's like this is an open marketplace, like it's just like regular people, and it's not Boba Fett strutting around as the daimyo of that. It's just like it's regular people. Like Obi-Wan has his Epo in like a little like area to keep him out of the sun, and there's like even like a tie stand there for people who want to put their mounts down there. Like it's super cool. I like that a lot. I like that this is and also like Ben lives in a cave.
Yep.
He lives in a cave on Tatooine, and it's just
he's got a little droid that kind of acts as like a security measure for him. He's got not an Ewok, a Jawa friend that comes in, sells him stuff, steals his stuff, and then sells it back to him.
Yeah, it's like my somebody stole my control panel. Oh, what do you know? I have a control panel right here for you. It's like, and he looks at it and he goes, Tiwa, if you're going to steal from me, at least do the courtesy of cleaning it before you try to sell it back. And his response is, cleaning costs extra.
Yeah.
I like, and my favorite thing is like, hey, come on, Obi-Wan, like, or he goes, hey, come on, like I got a tribe to feed. I gotta like, it's just so good. I love Jawas. I love his little Jawa trade friend who, and like even says like, oh hey, yeah, we found that old Jedi ship, and we've like it's been stripped down for parts. Look at it. I got this belt. And it's so good on so many levels. Just like Ben's life in hiding is awesome, and it's cool, and it's interesting to see. And then we immediately get to leave Tatooine after the first episode and get to experience this completely different kind of planet. I loved it, man. Like my impressions of this are just, I absolutely have been enthralled by it. I loved it. I can't wait to see more episodes next week. Like this is, I did not expect to be kind of like thrown into full Star Wars fanboy gear by this. Like I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting series for me because like going into it, it's like, well, I know there's not really danger for Obi-Wan. I know there's not really danger for Leia or Luke. Like I know, because we know where these characters' journey goes, like the stakes aren't particularly like super high, but that doesn't mean that it can't be an interesting and a compelling adventure. I loved, like, I was not at all expecting like, oh, suddenly we're on Alderaan and we're running around with young Princess Leia, and she's going to be a key element of this story, and it's going to be like, because I think it does a great job of like setting up, oh, this is why Leia reaches out to Obi-Wan at the beginning of A New Hope. Like they've met before, they know each other.
Well, what's interesting is she doesn't know that he's Obi-Wan.
I mean, but I think
you think she'll eventually learn?
I imagine ultimately she will. Yeah, that's my guess. Obviously, like they could leave it open ended, and because it could just tie into like, because I think in A New Hope her line is effectively like, you served my father during the Clone Wars, so maybe she doesn't realize that like that's who she's actually trying to contact, and when they meet again 10 years later, she's not going to be too broken up by it.
Well, she doesn't know that it's she never interacts with Obi-Wan Kenobi,
right? Yeah.
And so like that's one thing that I'm like, oh man, that's actually kind of sad now that I think about it. It's that he came to rescue her and she doesn't even know. She like, because if she doesn't ever in this series does not piece together that Ben this guy is Obi-Wan Kenobi, like it's cool. I think it's cool. It's interesting, and
And I think this
Also, yeah,
series is a little bit of retconning to give us like, here's an adventure that Obi-Wan and Leia had together. Obviously,
cool.
we'll see
I'm
how
down
that
for it.
plays out over the next 4 episodes. And I think it still can tie into like, even if like this ends and she realizes or she knows that Ben equals Obi-Wan, I think it still ties in just fine with like the opening. And no, certainly no worse than anything that like Lucas did in the prequel era to really just
100%.
kind of
Yeah.
like not really pay any attention to continuity for the original trilogy and stuff like that. So it's like it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm here for the ride of give me this little adventure that they're going to go on, and I'll be curious if it lasts the whole time, or if in the next couple episodes Obi-Wan gets Leia back to Alderaan and then goes off on a different thing. But yeah, it was a fun, just like, oh, this is what this story is about. That's neat. I'm cool. I'm excited to see how this plays out.
I will say I love little.
Leia, yeah, she's great.
She's
Um,
precocious. I love her so much. One of my favorite things was
she
she
dunks
gets
on
out of
her
there,
cousin.
dunks on her cousin hardcore. And I'm just like, before she, like her mom says, yeah, don't make anybody cry. I'm like, okay, just the fact that the mom, like that, the mom gives that instruction already makes me excited. And I can't wait. But one of the things I loved is she goes and is hiding out in a tree and is watching ships go by. And immediately I think of Anakin talking about watching, like sitting and watching the ships fly off Tatooine and coming, like that entire section where he's like, I imagine I'm a pilot on one of those ships going somewhere.
Mhm,
And immediately I thought of, like, she's like, yeah, this ship is that ship. And then she goes, probably to hunt down Mercian pirates.
mhm.
And I'm like that moment when she says thank you to droids. Like, I'm like, there's so much about it that I just love out of that it's just like she has these little touches of Anakin, just
So
like bake.
yeah,
Yeah.
so does Luke. We get like the little bit of like Luke, doing the little pod racing kind of thing.
Dude,
Um,
when he tricks out Owen and
mhm.
is like hiding from him in like just like around the thing and like on like it's so good because it's like, oh my gosh, yes, once again, these are precocious children. Because like look who their parents were.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
it's just, yeah,
that
so good.
yeah, that was the other thing I was going to bring up is I love that like the direct references to how much she reminds Obi-Wan of Padme
Hmm.
later on. And so it's great because it is filling in that gap. Like we never really dealt with Leia in an era where Padme had existed. So so like I guess the sequel trilogy, but like by then she's working on so many other things. So this is kind of like bridging the gap between between the prequel era and the original trilogy in I think like cool and interesting ways with regards to some of those relationships and some of those dynamics and helping set up the characters that these people will become. Like and they do a great job with little Leia here. In doing that. I'll be curious if we get any kind of extensive time with young Luke over the course of the next few episodes, um, or
I'm
if he
okay
will
if we
just kind
don't.
of be a little cameo. But yeah,
I'm
it's
okay. I'm okay if we don't. I love oh gosh, the moment where she goes, was she a Jedi? And he looks at her and he goes, no, she was a leader.
mhm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, just like he's because Obi-Wan never got to celebrate Luke and Leia being the children of his two best friends. Like that's the thing. Like these kids are the children of Obi-Wan Kenobi's two best friends. And he didn't even know that they were married. He didn't even know that they were that like Padme's kids were Anakin. Like there's so much about this that leads into just like he gets to appreciate that now.
Mhm.
And I love seeing that appreciation on his face when he realizes when she's being like to the droid and she's like holding it and like the way that she's holding it so carefully. And he goes, what happened? Like, and it, like that immediately, that moment where he goes, like, bends down and says, what happened to your droid? And she goes, her name's Lola. And immediately it's just like this.
Yeah, it's
We got to see the things about Luke that we got to be like, oh, it's like Anakin or Padme in that method. But this is the first time we get that with Leia, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I think I I like the dynamic that Obi-Wan has because obviously he has been a hermit for, 9 years or whatever, 10 years. He's not, a people person right now. And I think he
Nope.
realizes that in his interactions with her and how he's kind of been like turning her off and putting her, away. And so I think like that is him trying to warm up and be cordial and like remember what it's like to be a kid or to just, be a person. Um, I also love how this kind of like plays into just other ideas that we've gotten over the course of Star Wars, like the notion that um, in his time in exile, Ben has cut himself off from the Force, presumably. Like we don't get explicit confirmation, at least yet, that he's done that in the way that we get it in like Last Jedi with Luke, but it seems like the moment where he like reaches out and stops Leia from falling is like a reconnection to the Force kind of moment, because he hasn't really utilized the Force up until that point. Everything's been
Yeah.
blasters or like just fist fights and cunning. Um,
One thing I think about it, I don't necessarily see it as, because normally when you like in Star Wars, you say they've been cut off from the Force. Like it's a very big deal that there's a separation.
mhm,
I do see it like he's straining just to do something that he 10 years ago could have done with ease.
mhm.
And so I think it is both the level of like just the Force, like you when you commune with the Force, it's a relationship. And if you don't commute, like if you're not practicing that relationship and practicing those memory muscles for 10 years, there's strain. And
Yeah.
I love seeing that where he's like it's a struggle, he's sweating, he's like working so hard just to like slow her down. And it's I like that, it's like this is not going to be swashbuckler, you know, Revenge of the Sith era Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is a like this is a man who has not used his abilities in a decade. And like what like it's like any other talent or ability that you have. If you don't use it for a decade, like you can't just tap into it and be back at full force. You just
Mhm.
can't. It takes time and effort and exercise. And I love that. I love that this is like the thing he needs to do is save the daughter of his friends, this little girl that he's like been entrusted to find and bring back home. And it's this moment of like do or do not, there is no try. And he does.
Mhm.
And it's awesome. And I love that. It's great.
Yeah, I think another element that factors into me reading it as he had been cut off and that's kind of him coming back in is that like he'd managed to stay under the radar enough with the Inquisitors right around. Like he's especially in that scene where, the third sister is, interrogating Owen pretty hard. Ben is, pretty nearby. And so if she's like actually trying to feel out for like force sensitive kind of people, she'd probably be able to sense him or connect with him in the way that she does later in Dayu, I think is the second planet. In that like warehouse when she when she says like, "Oh, you didn't know Anakin's still alive." Um,
Oh,
which
I did.
that's a
Yeah.
whole other fun like reveal of this idea that like which makes perfect sense that Obi-Wan has thought that he left his brother in arms dead there on the lava planet. So why would he
Because he did.
have any
Like
reason to believe that like Anakin is still alive?
he left him burned, broken. Like there's no way Anakin on his own could have gotten out of there. And to Obi-Wan, nobody else knew that they were. It just so happens the Emperor shows up and saves Anakin, but that is like that's not within a good like it's improbable that the Emperor like feels out, realizes Darth Vader's in danger, goes to Darth Vader and like takes him. That's not something that normally would have expected.
Hmm.
And I also think that it's easier for Obi-Wan to believe Anakin's dead than to believe that he like to be like, yeah, he's not dead. He's actually just like a mechanical monster now.
Yeah.
Like he's a cyborg monster man now. It's not like it's not that. That's not going to be the conclusion Obi-Wan Kenobi would land on.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love like the moment when she mentions Darth Vader, and he like you could just see that look, that 1,000-yard stare in his eyes as he's just like looking at the camera, and it's just like paralyzed. And that's when I think she senses his fear and his like anxiety and stuff. Like at that point, I think she already like she knew that she was hunting Kenobi. Like this is where Kenobi was, just because she pulled that out from Camille's brain.
Yeah.
When she did like a scan of it, so it's like she knows Obi-Wan's there. They're looking for a different Jedi, and also like I also think like the Force, when you use the Force, like you leave residuals. When a big moment of Force connect, like of a big Force ability is used, it leaves a kind of like spiritual like impact and imprint in what's going on. That's why you can, in several video games and other medium, they are like, oh, something happened here, or like they have a vision of what happened here. Like these things are leave imprints, and so when he uses the Force for the first time in a decade, it leaves an imprint. Like Obi-Wan wasn't like using the Force in his cave. He wasn't doing like these things in secret. He was legitimately like just not connected to the Force, and I don't see it as like a normally when like in Star Wars they're like, oh, they were cut off from the Force. I think that this is he separated himself from the Force, not necessarily that he was cut off though. I think that's kind of like
yeah, no, I mean like I didn't think like somebody else severed the connection. In the same I mean that's why I brought the Luke comparison. Like Luke cut himself off from the Force through disuse. I think Obi-Wan has done the same thing here.
I agree.
And it's this other it's yet another case of like like master like student kind of situation.
Oh,
yeah. What do you think of the theory that Reva is one of the kids we see in the Order 66 opening?
I think there's a good shot that she is. As we know, like says you and I both know from like watching Rebels and like just knowing kind of the canon of it. The Inquisitorius, which is what the Grand Inquisitor and the brothers and sisters are part of, is made up of former like either people who were Force sensitive and brought in and raised up, or former Jedi.
Yeah.
Whether it's Jedi, like they're Jedi, like the Inquisitorius has Jedi Masters. It has, I mean, the Grand Inquisitor himself was like a member of the like honor guard of the Jedi. Like it was a lot. Like so, there's different variances and different levels of people being brought in, whether they were Padawans, younglings, and whatnot. So her being a youngling in that opening scene, totally understandable. But it's his comments about her being pulled up from the gutter that make me think that she's actually not one of those younglings, that she's a Force sensitive that was found outside of kind of like when he says like you're not up to like not like really one of us. We pulled like you got pulled out of the gutter. That to me is an inference that she's not a former member of the Jedi Order. That she is just some Force sensitive gutter snipe that got picked up and brought into the Inquisitorius because of her. Because and he says like your station is like because of your talents you have your station. So it's not like she doesn't have like to me that says you like because the Grand Inquisitor is like I said a former member of like the honor guard, like he himself is like it was a very big deal as a Jedi Knight. Like there are other members who are former Jedi Masters who are part of the Inquisitorius. There's Jedi Knights, Padawans, younglings, the whole grouping there. And for her to be not considered part of that and being like considered an other to somebody like the Grand Inquisitor tells me she's somebody who's incredibly Force sensitive, but was brought in outside of that kind of like inject kind of like that. I'm trying to think of the corporate term when they bring somebody like graduate from college, like they scout you from college to bring you into the workflow of like, and then you work your way up, like the kind of like traditional means of entering that. There's like a term for it, but I can't remember what it is. And then you have somebody who comes in from the outside and is a disruptor. And Reva, Sister 3, 100% is a disruptor. She doesn't think, oh, I'm going to use she gets bounty hunters and like she works in ways that the Inquisitorius doesn't normally do. because the Inquisitorius, part of their flaws as an organization is they do kind of act as dark Jedi. Like, even though they're acting for the purpose of the Emperor, their methods and processes are that of like scholar warrior monks, not people who are like if Reva's
Ruthless.
from the street, as ruthless, or if Reva's from the streets, it makes sense that she has a connection to Flea's character. It makes sense that she knows put a bounty out, like do this, and that's a way of like putting a squeeze on Obi-Wan. Like, she's like, I don't like, he goes, you really think like he's a Jedi master, like they wouldn't be able to capture him? And she goes, I don't need them to capture him, I need them to squeeze him. I need him to in order to make false in order to get him to make, not false, but like so word something error, unintended errors, basically, like
unforced
errors.
Thank
you. Unforced errors. Like, she's trying to get him to do that, so, and that's exactly what she does.
I think it's not beyond the realm of possibility that it's maybe a bit of both. I think it could be Reva was because one of the younglings that basically the first one we see that like the camera zooms past is a young black girl with kind of a ponytail. And I think that's very much setting up that could be Reva. They escape. She could spend a couple of years on the streets hiding, but have been a youngling and then gets brought into the fold. But I think also I wouldn't, if it was just that she was a youngling who got basically pulled up, I still think that would be like enough of a like beneath the station of the Grand Inquisitor as like a temple honor guard that like he might still kind of talk down to her in the way like, you clearly weren't trained when we actually brought you into the fold. We just saw something in you that we decided we would go ahead and take and mold to suit our needs.
Hey, that's entirely possible. I'm open to whatever. Like,
I definitely think it's something that is intentional enough that it will be explored over the course of the 4 episodes. I think so. I think very much this is going to be, especially now that she has taken the Grand Inquisitor out of the mix, seemingly for the moment, by just stabbing him through the gut.
Dude, when she constantly is doing things that are just going to get her in more trouble. We know from other stuff that this isn't the last time we see the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for the chickens come home to roost. Like, she's constantly, I thought that we would have a couple episodes before the chickens come home to roost for her, but no, it happens right away.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately she's talked down to and like basically like put on, like she's benched. And then when the Grand Inquisitor comes, he goes, I'll show you how it's done. And she goes, oh, okay. And then murks him, or she thinks she murks him. I can't wait for him to be like, yeah, cause you suck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope we get a moment like that. I love, like I said, I love her character. I love that she is this, like, because I always felt like sometimes in Rebels, the Inquisitors were a bit too passive.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of a very ruthless, aggressive Inquisitor.
That's what I was saying. With regards to Sun Kang as the fifth brother, like, I feel like that's such a waste. Like, he's such a fun, charismatic person.
Yeah.
Admittedly, only knowing him from Fast and Furious, that like just hiding him behind that, like, or in that character is just like like, why would you take somebody who's like so often full of like that much joy and stuff and just make him menacing, bland bad guy? I
don't know.
Like, I hope they find some kind of like way to give him a little bit of like levity or something like that. Like, maybe we do get a flashback or something to what they were like before they were Inquisitors. Who knows? But it's so far, it's like, I still like, I don't understand why they cast him.
I don't know, man. It might just be like, hey, you want to be in Star Wars? You get like he auditioned for the part. Yeah. Like, he chose to do that. Maybe, I don't know. It just makes me sad.
Yeah.
Because I agree. I think that he has so much more he's capable of doing, and he's incorporated. One thing I like that we get Brother 5 or fifth brother. We get the fifth brother, which is cool. Yeah. We get the Grand Inquisitor. People are like, well, his head shape. I don't care.
We also got the fourth sister I did not mention, who is also previously established. I believe she's in the comics, but
Mhm.
she makes an appearance there in the second episode. The one who like walked up and I was like, are they just traveling with like a TIE fighter pilot kind of thing? It's like, oh no, that's one of the sisters that I just did not have a reference for, but I did see that in some trivia stuff after the fact. What did you think of Kumail's character?
Loved them.
Yeah.
Great. I totally expected him to be like to try to like backstab Obi-Wan. Because he goes, well, I guess we have to find him first.
Mm-hmm.
I totally thought we were going to get like it's a backstab moment, and then it turned out no, like he really is who he seemed to be. Which like, yeah, is he like taking credits from people, making them poor before he gets them out of there? Yeah, but at the same time, he's still getting people out of there. And it means like to me, I was like, is he sending them off to then get like, because if her kid's force sensitive, like it's implied, he goes, with your son's talents, did he kind of pick up the idea of being a Jedi to help make it easier for people to believe that he sent like to convince them to like let to go and into hiding like that? And if that's the case, like did Obi-Wan stumble into the Underground Railroad of force sensitive children?
It's yeah. As we're talking about this, I'm having this like idea, especially given the one of the trivia things I pulled in, like realizing that I don't know if they'll go this route, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they did at this point. Cal Kestis in Jedi Fallen Order, like spoilers for that game, but that game basically ends with him like trying to kind of seek out holocrons that show where force sensitive kids are out in the galaxy. So maybe like they're out there trying to get people together, and maybe we'll see that character in
Cal
in a
Kestis is
future episode, something like that.
played by a really great actor.
Yep.
Who I love
Cameron
from
Monaghan.
Yep. He and I share a name as well as greatness. I'm joking. He's way greater than me. He plays a incredible character in Shameless who bucked the norm as a gay character. And it was fantastic. He's such a great actor. Yeah, I like, hey, if we get Cal Kestis in this, fine. I'm cool with it. Let's go with it. If we don't, that's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it to be one way or the other. It can be whatever it's going to be. I'm along for the ride. I'm here. I'm engaged. I'm ready for whatever.
Yeah. I don't think they will, but at the same time, I didn't think we were going to get young Leia here. So, who knows where it's going to go. Any other moments or beats or anything you want to give some love to? I real quick, I'll just give it a shout out to just Bail Organa being like a super dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like love, like Jimmy Smith's already just always great. But like getting to see him with Leia, which obviously we never really get to see too much. I guess maybe we see it like once or twice in Rebels. But it's definitely not something we've gotten to see, on live action. So going back to that, the comment that you made earlier of like Leia, excitedly seeing stuff when she goes and tells him that, and he's like, oh, they're probably like searching for pirates. And she's like, that's what I said. It's just such a great little moment between the two of them.
And like her mom being just like a super great mom. Like,
yeah.
Like you need to be nice to your cousins.
It just makes the destruction of Alderaan that much more
much worse. Yeah,
tragic.
That much worse.
Especially like the moment of like, look out there, like one day this will all be yours. The people will look to you, kind of thing. It's like, ooh, we know how this plays out. Ooh. There's also like, it was one of those things when I was first watching, I was like, is this the first time we're like getting live action Alderaan? And I was like, oh no, there is like one shot at the end of Revenge of the Sith where the Organas are out there with baby not Billy D. Williams. No, that would have been a very different thing. But seeing them with baby Leia in Alderaan. But it's still like, it's easily the most time we've gotten an Alderaan in live action. So
we gotta see cool. Like Alderaan-y guard with their weird oval helmets.
Yeah. But they also perfectly fit in with the rebel attire that we're that they're clearly kind of like bridging the gap and leading towards. It's very interesting, like this being basically the midpoint between episode 3 and episode 4, getting to kind of explore this point in time as the transition between those two eras, which are so like strikingly different visually sometimes.
Yeah.
I also shout out to Gary Whitta's tweet of like when people are like, how does Obi-Wan go from this to Alec Guinness in 9 years, and Gary Whitta being out there being like, because he's trying to raise a kid now. I totally get how that would happen. It ages you.
For me, like I tweeted out about that too. I was like, people don't understand how the, like, if you don't live in air conditioning in a desert,
I saw that as well.
The desert ruins you. I've known people who like were like not that much older than me who went into like you know labor jobs, like being roofers, construction workers and stuff. The sun ages you very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know old men who have skin that is so dark that if it wasn't so leathery, you'd think they weren't. Like these are like white guys who look, you know, have a different look now. Because, and the only reason you're like, oh, like, is because their skin literally is leather. Like, the desert destroys your skin and ages you very badly. So, I do not one bit, like doubt that, like, oh, 9 years? Yeah, 9 years. Like, he spent 20 years in the desert. I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I believe it. Like, totally understandable. Like,
yeah.
It's like, how did he go this in 9 years? It's like, man, I've seen, like, look at a president. And one of the things I didn't say was, like, look at a president before they become president and then after their first term.
Yeah.
And then even worse after their second term. Stress and, like, there's so many things that can age you really roughly. And stress is one of them. And I think if you're in hiding and you're also trying to keep a, like, possible prophesied child alive, it's like Obi-Wan doesn't live a cushy life as a hermit. Like he's a hermit in the desert. Like these things don't go well.
Yeah.
Or like you don't stay youthful by being a hermit.
That reminded me, there is one thing that I think is a weird little contradiction in Obi-Wan's mentality. When he meets Nari and basically like dismisses him and he's like, I'm Ben. My name's Ben. I'm not that, just pack it up and hide. But then in like almost the next scene, he's like, well, when Luke's old enough, I have to train him. Like those two mentalities don't mesh for me. And I don't know if they'll explore it. I'm ultimately like, it's not going to drastically like make me think one way or another about this series. But it was one little bit of like, upon a second watch, I was like, oh, that is a weird bit of like, why is he so adamant about staying in hiding in one scene and then like in another scene open to training the next generation of Jedi?
I think it comes down to two things. One, it's not just the next generation of Jedi, it's his friend's son.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Nari comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In the middle of the desert.
True.
In a scene.
I don't know you.
Like Nari, like Obi-Wan doesn't know who Nari is.
Yeah.
Nari coming out and saying, hey, you, one of the most wanted people in the entire galaxy. I know who you are.
Yeah.
Help me. And just like Obi-Wan is like, because Obi-Wan's looking around in that scene and being like, you know, who else is here? Because it's like, is this
it is a very intense scene. I was very much like waiting for like the Inquisitors to like shoot Nari or something in that scene. But yeah. Also shout out to Obi-Wan just having pinpoint accuracy on where he buried his own lightsabers.
Yeah, as I was talking
in the middle of the desert.
I watched the first episode with my brother-in-law, and when he went there and I saw like, and he like dug it up, I looked at that and I was like, oh no, that's not enough. And he was like, what? I was like, the sand. Like this is a dune.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's in a dune. Like,
yeah,
there's no way that it's
it would
just
be
a couple
significantly
feet under.
more buried. Yeah,
it would be literally possible, like tens of feet, if not hundreds of feet, like lower in the sand. Like it's not just a couple feet on. It's not. This isn't the forest where you do that. It's a dune.
Mm-hmm.
Like people clearly do not know it. Like this once again, people don't get it. People don't understand. When you live in the desert, you know these things.
it's why so many Egyptian ruins are like so well preserved and just still underground, is because they've just been covered by sand for years and years and years and decades and millennia.
Like
Yeah,
that.
it was still
That's
like
how. I
shout
was
out
so
to
surprised.
shout out to him just knowing exactly where he needed to dig, I guess. Still,
Also, I will say that line where when Nari produces the lightsaber, and he goes, "What are we supposed to do?" And Ben looks at him and says, "I'm going to tell you what you should do. Take that lightsaber." He goes, "Take that." Points at the lightsaber. Go out to the Dune Sea and bury it, and live a normal life. And dude, I love Ewan McGregor in that moment, because that is, once again, he's embodying this Ben Kenobi character, this identity that he's taken up in the meantime, and is like, one, I love it because it's somebody like basically like, you're Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the greatest people who's ever lived in the galaxy, and him being like, hey, first off, you're talking way too loud.
Yeah.
Like,
hey
like,
buddy, don't blow up my spot here.
Yeah. Hey.
I don't know you.
Tatooine already has a Jedi in hiding. We don't need to. Get off this planet. But he says, yeah, bury it and like go live a normal life. And he goes, I can't believe you're supposed to be the Jedi Master. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did your expectations not mesh with reality? And he goes, what about the war? He goes, the war's over. We lost. Like, love that. I love this resignation he has, that like, that's why it's like, I don't think it's like him training the next generation. It's like, he's afraid that if part of it, I think, is if Luke is discovers that he has the ability to use the Force, and he doesn't have training, like what's going to happen? Like what could happen? And so I like the idea that that he's like, well, yeah, once he's old enough, I'll train him, because it's very much I had a plan when I started. That plan isn't really viable at this point. Because it's like, it's clear, like, he's like, well, when Luke's old enough, I'll train him. And like these very like optimistic goals that then get kind of, the support for those goals gets kind of dismantled over a decade.
Yeah.
It's people who, a good example is Revolutionary Road, a film with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's about a couple who are like, we're going to go to Paris and we're going to live in Paris. And it's about
life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way. It's like life got in the way of whatever he thought the plan was with Luke.
It's up.
And
it's up. It's
up.
going to Paradise Falls.
Yeah. And it's like, this is the rough truth. And Owen reminds him of it. He goes, like you did his father? Like, what makes you think that that's going to, like, this is a possibility, Ben? Like, and it's, one thing I do like that Owen has his loyalties, and there is a level of loyalty to Ben. Even though he says, I didn't do it for you, that's very much it's like, oh, I didn't know you cared about me. I don't care about you. Shut up. Kind of moment. And it's like, listen, like, there is a bond between these two men, and it is in their relationship. And it's part of it is in this relationship to this boy that, that Owen's raising. But it's that also that level of Luke has a guardian angel out in the form of Ben Kenobi. And I like that. I like that aspect of it exists, but it's also like, tell me where the Jedi is, or I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill your family too. And he doesn't give them up. But he also shares his opinion about Jedi. Jedi are vermin. Like, I would, but then he also lies. He says, I wouldn't help a Jedi. And it's like, you know what? It's true. He wouldn't help a Jedi, but he would help his stepbrother's mentor, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. That's what I'm like, this connects very well in my brain. And the moment I say it out loud, it's like, doesn't connect well at all.
No, not quite. Yeah. Any other thoughts, favorite moments, anything we want to jump to, or are you ready to grade?
I'm ready to grade. Let's hop in.
All right. diving into the report card where we grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give? I know we talked about this recently. Like you're trying to be a little bit more stringent about your grading. What do you
That's
want
not
to
happening
grade?
here,
That's
Trevor.
not
That's
happening
not
here.
happening
What do you
here.
want to
It's A
grade?
plus. This is an A
You're giving an A+.
plus.
All right.
It has to be an A plus. There's no way between production value, choreography, set design, costumes, like story, acting, characters. Like this just nails it across the board. This absolutely nails what they're going for. They have a plan for these for this series. They're executing on it, and so far in the first 2 episodes, they execute on it perfect. Him showing up, meeting the spice seller, and her going, and him like, listen, I'm a father. I'm looking for my daughter, and she goes, if she's here, like she's gone. Like and Alexandra goes, I was somebody's daughter too. Like I used to be somebody's daughter too. And she goes, here, couple of these, and you're not going to even remember. And it's like, first off, that gives you detail about the planet. It gives you details about, like the fate of kids who get caught up on this planet. It gives you an idea immediately of, like the kind of atmosphere we're going to be dealing with while we're here. And it also sets up a, like, device for Obi-Wan to use later when he's being overpowered. And once again, it gives him tools to use that are not the Force. I'm not searching for it using the Force. I have the signal from the ship. It's on my little device. Can you help me find it? No. Okay. Not useful. Hey, I'm looking for information. I'm looking for like that. And it's like, no, here's some spice. And then a kid goes, hey, I can help you. I know a Jedi, but it's not cheap. And it's like that entire, like the way they do that is great. And it immediately gets you into the vibe of this planet in 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's just one example of what this show absolutely nails. And that's why it's an A+.
All right. It's entirely possible when all is said and done, this will get an A+ for me. Right now, I'm probably sitting at just a comfortable A. Like, very good. I really enjoyed it. I stayed up, watched it. Or I was very glad that they didn't wait until midnight to drop it, and I was able to watch it like 9 o'clock Thursday night. Especially because the internet, being the internet, gonna start like tweeting all sorts of like spoiler images and stuff, a few hours later. So I was glad I was able to knock that out pretty quickly. I've gone back and watched the first episode again. I don't think I've rewatched the second episode yet. But that's more just for like time really than anything else. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes from here. I love Ewan McGregor being back in this role. That's a delight. I look forward to seeing how Hayden Christensen plays out, because I think one of the things we've talked about when we did our Summer of Star Wars is like the crimes of the prequels do not fall at the feet of Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, like Natalie Portman. The crimes of the prequels fall at like bad writing and not the best direction from Lucas, and nobody basically like challenging him and saying like, what are the better ways we can do these things? And I think Filoni and the team kind of behind the creative force of Star Wars right now is trying to make better choices, doing better, have better ideas, smarter ideas. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what a potential another showdown between Obi-Wan and Anakin looks like here in this era before A New Hope. So yeah, gets an A from me. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. This is one of the rare ones where everything on this list has a corresponding D+ episode if you're interested in watching. First 4 are episodes 1 through 4, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope. We did all of those, obviously, during our Summer of Star Wars last year, so you can go check out any of those episodes. The Star Wars Clone Wars series is out there. We did an episode centered around the Battle of Umbara arc. You can go find Star Wars Rebels, which we did an episode on just a couple weeks ago. Star Wars The Mandalorian. Surprisingly, we've only done one Mandalorian episode, I think. We only did... maybe we did more. maybe I'm just forgetting some in here, but Mandalorian season 1 we definitely did a wrap up of, and then we have 2 episodes on Star Wars: The Book of Boba Fett for you to enjoy if you're interested in that. Extracurriculars. Are you watching anything else on Disney Plus these days, Cam?
Not right now. Oh no, that's not true. I'm watching some Rebels still.
Still watching some Rebels.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think I've hopped into more Rebels since we talked last week, but um I will say I did sit down and watch one of the things that went to Disney Plus. I think this last week was Marvel Studios assembled The Making of Moon Knight. I tend to enjoy a lot of the behind the scenes that they do. These little making of documentaries about the various MCU shows as well as the assorted Star Wars shows we've gotten. And it was a fun little hour. Kind of you get a lot of Oscar Isaac in there. You get some Ethan Hawke talking about. The the work that went into kind of crafting those characters and the ideas behind the series and stuff like that. I didn't realize, for example, that the woman who played Tawaret was like there on set doing motion capture, and they basically put the CGI over her based off of her like animations, based on like she was in costume, so they basically had the lighting match what how the lighting was reflecting off of like the bracelets and stuff on her there in person when they did the CGI design stuff. So I was like, oh, that's a cool little thing that factored into to some of those things. So it was a cool little little hour of kind of the making of Moon Knight. So I highly recommend that as well. But yeah, that's probably about it for me. So yeah, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk about the first couple episodes here of Obi-Wan Kenobi. As I said, we will be back in a month's time to talk the full season. Hopefully, Logan and Frank will also be able to join us for that. I know they wanted to do this one, but we're not able to. Frank at least was like, he's really digging it so far.
Mhm.
Unclear what Logan's thoughts are. I'm sure I'll find out when I talk to him about whenever we do our next Bond thing. But yeah, stay tuned for more of our thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi when the series wraps at the end of the month. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a massive shout out to another podcast we do, which is That Nerdy Site Show. Recently we had a fun one where it was you and me doing a spoiler cast for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's a fun one. And then there's also more recent episodes. I'm looking forward to recording the next one because I have a few things that I have ready to talk about. So if you're jonesed up for that, look forward to that episode coming out later, like
the day after this one.
Yeah, day after this one.
Because of our adjusted schedule this week. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. I will give a shout out to That Bond Show, as I alluded to earlier, that I've been doing with Logan. We are nearing the end. I sat down last night and watched Spectre, which is the last one that I had not yet watched. So I have now seen every single Bond movie. So that's the next one we're sitting down and recording. As of this episode going out, Quantum of Solace was the most recent episode. So you can go hear our thoughts on that over at youtube.com/thatnerdysite as we wind down that series, that little limited run series that we've been doing all of 2022 so far. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, class dismissed, and may the force be with you.
And also with you.